28th December 2017, I was in the room where it happens. That's right, I got to see Hamilton in the West End and it was quite the experience, let me tell you that. And I feel like this is more of what this video is going to be about, the experience of seeing Hamilton, the things you need to know, as opposed to my normal theatre review videos, because at this point no one really needs to review Hamilton. Obviously my opinion's gonna be in here as well, but I don't want to make this just a review because I think Hamilton reviews at this point are so in the masses and everyone knows exactly what they think of it at this point that I don't want to also throw my voice on top of that and then it not be heard. I want to make something that's a little different as well. I also think there's a lot of questions about how the ticketing process works in Hamilton, so if I could make a video that answers some people's questions as well, that would be good. So the day we saw it was a Thursday, which is matinee day. There was a first show already in when we arrived at the Victoria Palace Theatre, and before they set up the queue line on matinee days for the second show, they make sure that everyone's already out. Because if you don't know how the ticketing works for the Victoria Palace, no one has their tickets in advance. This one, the ways they're getting around scouting and the ticket prices going beyond Ticketmaster's control, they are making sure that everyone picks up their tickets in person at the theatre at the day. So we'd been in London most of the day anyway, we'd gone to visit family and done like shopping and stuff, so we were already up there way before we needed to be. Obviously we didn't get in the queue until about half an hour before doors opened, which is something that we'd seen online as a recommended getting in queue time, and it worked out well. I mean, it was December, it was freezing and we were cold, but we were then at the front of the queue when it split, and I'll let you know about that. So they set up the queue with the normal Hamilton barriers as one big queue to begin with, and then about 10 minutes after people have started to form that queue, they then ask everyone that's in the stalls to move. I'm not going to pretend I know whether it was left or right, I can't visualise that, but everyone who was in the stalls to move away from the wall to make a kind of second queue. Oh, it was stalls and Royal Circle and Grand were left towards the wall. So you had one queue that was stalls and Royal, and then the Grand queue where the initial queue had been formed. So we were at the front of the Grand queue and then everyone else was in this queue in front of us. They started an initial check as well about 5-10 minutes before they started to let people in, where they'll just go through the beginning of the queue to make sure that everyone had ID and the credit card they'd paid on with them. They do check this. I've seen people online tell people, oh, don't worry, let your parents buy and they don't have to be there. They did check my dad's ID against his credit card. We went as a family, we're all in Hamilton, so it wasn't the same situation a lot of people were in where the parents are buying for the kids but won't be going in with the kids. We all wanted to see it, so that didn't matter, but they did check that it was the same name on the credit card and the ID. And then they let the stalls queue go first, and the stalls queue go from where the queue starts round to the front and the actual box office and then and foyer area, and our Grand queue went in the like smaller door that's nearer where the queue actually starts, that takes you up the stairs right to the Grand Circle area. Do not worry if you're in the Grand Circle area about missing the main foyer area, because some people have been misinforming people and telling them that the only merchandise area is in that stalls and Royal area, but there is another merchandise area in the Grand Circle, and it's a much bigger area than any other Grand Circle like waiting area that we've ever been in. There are so many more toilets up there, which is just important for a show with that many people there. Like, me and my mum, we go to the theatre a lot together. We are usually in the grand circle because it means we can get cheaper tickets so that we can go as often as we like. And like, it's a big spacious area compared to some grand circle areas. I mean, when you get in, less so, but I'll get onto that in a minute. So obviously where I said we were at the front of the queue to go up to the grand, we were right at the front of the merchandise queue. So I thought I'd let people know how merchandise works, how much pricing is for the things we have. I don't know the exact pricing for everything else, but I will let you know where you can find that out in a bit. So if you can't notice, I've been wearing my Skylar Sisters t-shirt. This is the one thing I definitely knew I wanted. It's what any money that I'd been given to like buy Hamilton stuff with, I was like, let's buy my Skylar Sisters t-shirt. They had loads of these, as far as I'm aware. There was no issue about like sizes or whatever. I will let you know though, this is a small. You can kind of see how loose it is on me, and I'm usually around a size 8 in stores. So just as a guide for what sizing you want, whether you want it like this loose or not. I don't even know if they had an extra small. I just said small because that's what I assumed they would have, but it does come up baggy compared to other smalls, but it's still kind of quite nicely fitted, and it will look nice tucked into skirts and stuff. And the t-shirt was £28. They have a Skylar Sisters t-shirt in kids sizes that is cheaper, but I wanted the fitted style, which obviously it's baggy, so maybe non-fitted would have been better. But if you are small and want to save money, then definitely check out the kids stuff because it is a lot cheaper. If I buy a hoodie next time I'm there, I will be getting a kids hoodie. We bought the London Cast programme. This was £4, which is cheap, but also it's not a super informative programme. It's got all the cast information in, but there's not much extra stuff in there. So it is pretty reasonably priced for what it is. As you can see, I have some signatures on there, but I will talk about Stage Door at the end because I think Stage Door was very different to any other West End show I've been to. We also bought the brochure. The brochure is £10, and even though we were planning on getting both of them the whole time, we thought they'd both be the West End cast, and this is where I'm going to give people a warning because sometimes I just buy the brochure programme because I want the pretty pictures. If you're planning to get a brochure for the West End cast currently, you're not in luck. This is the original Broadway cast, and we got it anyway because it is really nice. The pictures are great, and I do love the original Broadway cast. But they currently have no brochure programs for the West End cast, and I feel like this isn't super advertised, that the brochure is just for Broadway. So I thought I'd give people a warning on here that this brochure is only for the Broadway cast. It's still super nice. It's definitely worth the £10. There's some like concept art of costumes in there, as well as the staging, information about the creative team, and it's a lovely brochure, but it's not for our cast. Next, me and my dad each bought these pins, which are just the logo pins. They're £6, so they're kind of average pin price, but I like pins, if you haven't noticed. And then we also bought this tote bag that was kind of the thing my mum wanted, and they give you paper bags anyway that have the Hamilton logo on that are cool if you don't want the tote bag, but we do quite like bags like this in this house, so we got the Hamilton one, and this was £8. It feels like a little cheaper than the Disney store ones, but it's still good. It's, you know, worth its money, and it keeps everything in. So that's what we bought on merch. We were at the front of the queue, and the queue built up so much when we were sat on the sofas in the grand circle. Like, we lost track of where the queue was going. So if you know you want to buy a lot of merch and you don't want to be rushed or panicky about what's been taken that night, I recommend getting to the theatre around the same time we did, which is half an hour before they started to let people in. which doors open is different to when you're allowed to actually go into the theatre. And then, so like eventually we're allowed in, and there is no legroom in the grand circle, which often I don't notice when there's no legroom. I'm only 5'3". My brother, who's like 6'1", 6'2", something like that, will be sat next to me complaining about the legroom, and I'll be like, I'm fine. I noticed it here. I've been to the Victoria Palace before to see Billy Elliot, but I was in the stalls and 12, so I was even shorter than I am now. So I don't remember it being a problem then, but I do know that they've added more seats for Hamilton because, like, to account for the popularity, which is great. It means everyone that wants to see Hamilton can probably get down to see Hamilton at some point, but it's tight. It wasn't uncomfortable for me at 5'3", I just could tell. Maybe you want an aisle seat if you're taller so that you can put your legs out. I don't know, but there's not much legroom. It's not a problem when you're watching the show. The show is so good that you can forget about the fact there's no legroom, but it's tight, I'm gonna be honest. The theatre is also quite cold. I had a different cardigan to this, but almost as chunky, knit in style, and I was still cold with that on, with a long sleeve t-shirt underneath, and my pinafore over the top of that t-shirt. It's chilly. So warnings, bring layers, because then layers are good. There was a point I started to heat up again, I could take my cardigan off. It was fine. So layers are a definite need for the Victoria Palace. The show itself. Let's talk about what you've all clicked on this video for. It was incredible. You are going to be blown away by Hamilton. It does live up to the hype. This is something I started to get a little worried about in the queue. I felt quite emotional all day, and I realised in the queue, I was like, oh, this is why I'm emotional. I've never waited 2 years to see a show before. Even Newsies, that I never thought I was going to see it, hadn't been 2 years since discovering the soundtrack to seeing it. It had been maybe 6 months. This, 2 years ago, I started listening to the Hamilton soundtrack, and just, it did not feel real. Even when we arrived at Victoria that morning and saw the theatre, I was like, it's just another time passed in the theatre in London. It didn't feel real. And then I started to get worried that I'd hyped it up in my head. I'd read about all this hype. I thought it was going to be the best thing ever, and I got worried. I'd never built up a show that much before, and I was worried for whatever reason it wouldn't live up to it, and it did. It definitely did. One of the things I always tell people when they ask about this is we only know the soundtrack. Of course, we've seen pictures of costumes, we've seen little snippets of things happening, but for the most part we only know the soundtrack, and I think the staging of it is enough to add that need to also see it. I think the choreography blew me away so much more than I was expecting. There's more choreography than you imagine, and I think that's because, like, the ensemble aren't featured too much in the soundtrack. There's no big ensemble songs. It's like, often they'll build up in things like Non-Stop or Wait For It, but Wait For It is ultimately Aaron Burr's song, so you forget about the ensemble there. But they are incredible dancers. The choreography, you don't know what to watch. You don't know whether you need to be watching the performers or like the dancers or the main actors or whatever's going on around the balcony. There is so much going on, and I feel like it's one of those things where if you're lucky enough to see it multiple times, you're going to spot different things each time you see it. And I think when a show manages to do that, that's exciting, and you know it's succeeded then. And it makes me really excited to see it again. It's so good. I don't want to talk about it too much because I don't want to spoil any of it for those that have yet to see it and, like me, like thought they knew everything, and then you do not. And like the funny moments, like King George's songs, are so much funnier in person, and then at the end of one of them, what comes next, he grabs a stool and watches the drama play out from the side of the stage, and that's hilarious. There's so many little things to watch out for that it's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. I don't know who you are that I'm talking to right now, but you will love Hamilton when you see it. So yeah, that's the extent of what I'm going to talk about for the show itself. I might talk about the cast members a little bit when I'm talking about Stage Door, and just talk about their individual performances. But Stage Door, we went straight from me and my brother got separated from my parents going out. There were just so many people, but we're 19 and 24, so that's not an issue. We shouldn't be worried about where our parents are. We then went straight round to Stage Door, and for anyone who is a big London theatre fan and has stage doored before, Hamilton is different. Hamilton sounds much more like when I hear American theatre fans talk about stage dooring, even for regional performances. At the West End, I've never encountered barriers between the audience and the actors at Stage Door. Only when I saw David Tennant in a Shakespeare play, but obviously he was David Tennant, so there were people going around to meet him that weren't necessarily theatre fans, but more David Tennant fans. Whereas whenever I've done like Half a Sixpence, Once, what else have I Kinky Boots, when you Stage Door, everyone just stands in their own spot, and then the actors make their way around this group of people, whereas in Hamilton it was a barrier. You queued and they made their way down the queue. So it's different, and it's going to be different because it's Hamilton. The first person out was Jason Pennycook. He was really nice. He was really great. I told him how funny he was as Lafayette and Jefferson. And he makes his way down the queue. I don't think I got an individual picture with him. We also met Marsha Songkham, who was making her Hamilton debut that night. Like, that was insane. I think it was really exciting seeing it at the beginning of its run, because whenever you have swings on, it was their debut in that role, not just like, and in Hamilton. That was insane. We also saw Barney Hudson's first night in Hamilton, and he was covering Samuel Seabury. So it was really exciting to be able to see these people's first performances. And Marsha Songkham was so like nervous at Stage Door. She was worried. She's like, was I okay? And we were like, yeah, you were fantastic. She was covering Peggy and Mariah, in case you don't know the cast too well, and she is amazing. Cleve September was the big one that I wanted to meet. I've met him twice before though. But yeah, I got Cleve to sign the star, just that I knew it would come up. I've wanted Cleve to play John Lawrence since the first time I saw In the Heights in February 2016. And I felt so proud of him watching him do that role. He blew us all away, to use the quote from the show. He was incredible. Even my brother turned to me at one point and went, he is the most exciting performer to watch. And I was like, thank you. It was quite odd at Stage Door. I thought they removed the barriers before Jamil came out, which is like, it doesn't make much sense to have these barriers in place and then as the lead actor comes out, remove them. But everyone stayed in place. Everyone was obviously like witnessed what had been happening before and was just like, it's chill, I'll let them do what they're doing. And so like Jamil could just go down the line as everyone else had, but without the line being enforced as such. He is so tall, like so tall. Everyone's tall compared to me. I'm 5'3", but Jamil is so tall. And he was lovely as well. And then after Jamil had gone by, security let us know that no one else was coming out Stage Door, which is what I'd suspected before they moved the barriers. Like as they were moving them, I was like, oh, no one else is coming. And then Hamilton himself comes out of Stage Door. So security will communicate with you as to who is coming out and who isn't coming out. They're lovely. Be nice to security, don't complain at them if they're asking you to move. They're cold, they're tired, and they're just trying to do their jobs, and they're really nice people. That was my Hamilton experience. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know when you're seeing Hamilton in the comments because I am excited for you. Check out my social network links, they'll be in the description as usual, as well as a link to my blog. If you want to catch up on any of my other Christmas adventures, there is an Everybody's Talking About Jamie theatre review on there, as well as 2 tabletop game reviews. So I recommend having a look at them. And I will see you soon. Bye!